What's up guys, it's your boy DS, and today I'm going to be talking about things I wish I knew early when playing Hogwarts Legacy. I now have over 20 hours in the game, and there are a lot of different things that I did or didn't do earlier on that I wish I did or didn't do, but now that I have the information, I can give the information to you guys so that you guys can start your journey a lot better than I did. The first thing I want to talk about is to do your main story, do your relationships, and do your assignments first. Exploring is a big part of Hogwarts Legacy, which is a very true statement, but there are a lot of different things out there in the world that are locked behind certain abilities or parts in the game that you only get later on. So if you go and try to explore everything immediately, you're going to be met with a lot of things you cannot have access to until you do certain things later on. So my recommendation is to you don't have to do all of the story, but you do want to invest, I want to say, about 5 to 10 hours of the story and the relationship missions and assignments first before you try to fully explore all of the open world. The second thing I want to tell you guys is you need to use Revelio on everything. It's going to give you access and show you so many different things you never would have thought was on the map. I can't count how many times I use Revelio, and there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different things in the area that I had no idea that were there. A lot of times whenever you get done fighting a whole bunch of enemies, if you use Revelio, there's like 4 or 5 different things on the ground that the enemies dropped. There may be 3 or 4 different chests in the area. Just make sure you use Revelio any chance you get. I know sometimes it may be annoying to spam this move because it stops your character for a brief second, but trust me, it's going to be so worth once you get all of those different rewards. Speaking of Revelio, you can upgrade Revelio in your talents. There are a lot of people that may not know this, but once you upgrade Revelio, it actually shows much farther. So with it being a much farther distance, you won't have to use it as often because you're going to be covering more ground whenever you use it. Also on the top of Revelio, you can use it on your Broom as well. So whenever you do start exploring the open world and everything like that, you can use it on your Broom, which is going to give you an even bigger way to explore the world simply because you can Revelio fly, and you can just search areas a lot faster, and with having that talent upgrade, it's going to be that much more better. The next thing I want to talk about is the Disillusionment Chests. A lot of people don't know, but if you turn invisible and then walk up to the chest, it won't see you. And not seeing you, you can open the chest. Now these chests give you 500 gold each. Every time you open one, it gives you 500 gold. This is going to be a really great way to get you gold early to buy whatever you need to buy or whatever you need to get. So if you see any of these chests, make sure you guys turn invisible and then go get them. The next thing I want to talk about is check your challenges tab. They give you a bunch of different rewards, whether it's gear or anything else. So make sure anytime you guys have a chance, go check your challenges. And if you can, make sure you're doing your challenges so that you can get a bunch of different rewards earlier and as soon as you can. Next thing I want to talk about is check your outposts. There's so many times where I'm just doing mission after mission as far as the story goes, and I have 3 or 4 outposts from a whole bunch of different people in the game, whether it's Sebastian or Natsai or whoever else, and it's like I could be doing these relationship missions a lot sooner if I just checked my outposts, but I didn't. So anytime you guys have outposts, make sure you check those as well. The next thing I want to talk about is your inventory space. You are going to have a very limited amount of inventory space early in the game, which is going to be only 20 slots. Now, the thing about this is, there are 2 things you can do about this. Number 1, you can sell a lot of the gear you get. You're going to be getting a lot of green gear early, and you can just sell it. Anytime I look at my inventory space and it's like above 15, I just go straight to any shop, and you can just sell any of the gear that you're not going to be using or anything like that. And then later on in the game, you can do Merlin trials, which will actually give you increased inventory space, but obviously that'll be later on into the game. Early on, you can just sell a lot of the gear that you have. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, well, DS, do I really want to sell all of this gear? Well, the answer is yes, because a lot of the gear you get, you'll get it over and over, for 1. For 2, any gear piece you get will automatically become a cosmetic, meaning even if you don't have it in your inventory, you can still wear the look. If you guys didn't know, in this game, you can wear the cosmetics of one gear but still have on the stats of another gear. So even if the stats are really great on like a piece of gear but it looks ugly, you don't have to look like that even if you're wearing the stats. Next up is the talent system. Later on in the game, you're going to unlock talents. Now, unlocking talents is going to give you a whole nother side of how you can use your spells. With Accio, instead of pulling one enemy, you can pull multiple enemies. If you look at Levioso, instead of levitating one enemy, you levitate multiple enemies. It is a very big upgrade to any spell or any talent that you get. Now, the thing about this is there are 48 talents in the game, but there's only 36 talent skill points. So you are going to miss out on 12 of those talents in the game. Now, I'll have a video coming out talking about what are the best talents to get early, so stay tuned for that. Moving on to the next one, you can befriend any of the companions in this game. Sebastian Sallow is one of the companions that studies in the dark arts and is basically going to have a storyline going into the dark arts if that's what you want. Well, even if you're not from Slytherin, you can still befriend him, you can still do those missions, you can still get the dark art spells. The next thing I want to talk about is changing your aiming. For whatever reason, they have your aiming default set to you have to basically be looking at them directly with your camera to aim at them. Well, if you turn this setting off, it will allow you to basically aim with your left analog stick. So whatever direction you're pointing with your analog stick, you can fire spells or basic attacks in that direction, even if they're off screen. The next thing we're going to be talking about is getting gold by selling animals. So if you guys don't know, a little bit later into the game, you can catch animals, and in catching them, you could usually put them in your room requirement, but instead of doing that, you could just sell them. Now keep in mind, this is an unlimited resource. There is no limit to how many animals you can catch and sell. So this is basically going to be the best way for you to get gold. And if you do this early and do this often, you'll be rowing in dough and basically be able to get whatever you want anytime you need it. The next thing I want to talk about is farming XP. If there's ever a time you're 1 or 2 levels below the required story mission or whatever the case may be, there are actually these arenas that you guys can go to and you can pretty much farm them non-stop for XP, and it's going to be a really great way to farm XP early on to get to whatever levels you need to, number one. But number two, it is also going to be a way for you to farm XP in the mid to late game if you guys are trying to max out your builds. So if you guys want to go to any of these arenas and farm XP, you can. The next thing I want to talk about is change your map with the D-pad. If you guys didn't know, whenever you go to your map, instead of clicking on the top tabs to change it, you can actually just move it left to right with your D-pad. This is going to save you a couple of seconds of time, but in the long run, it's going to be less tedious. It's going to feel a lot better doing this once you go to your map many times over. It's going to be a really good tool, so just make sure you use it as much as you can. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and this one's not that big, but it actually happened to me, so I want to let you guys know. Make sure you save as often as possible. When I first started the game, I played for about 2 or 3 hours straight with no saves. And yes, there is auto saving in this game, but one part of it was me just exploring in things and there was no auto save. I ended up turning off my console for a bit, coming back about 30 minutes later after I got some food or whatever the case was, and whenever I got back on, I was about an hour behind on my progress because I did not save. So make sure you guys save as often as possible. I know it's a pretty common sense tip, but with how massive this game is and how fun it is, you can dive in and lose track of yourself, and in doing so, forget to save. So anyway, that is going to be things I wish I knew early when playing Hogwarts Legacy. Let me know if you guys learned anything. That is going to be it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. That being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.